saying.
I'm trying to figure out how the Jews made us go. I'm trying to figure out how did the Jews make Saddam Hussein.
You're trying to figure it out.
I am. I'm asking you. Teach me.
Trying to figure it out.
How did the Jews make Saddam Hussein invade Kuwait and use chemical weapons?
Though.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. Tell me simply.
Yeah, no.
Without talking about Benghazi, without talking about China, without talking about Ukraine,
without talking about other examples of American foreign policy to establish a concrete worldview
and dialogue trees.
And it's always derailing. It's always derailing. And so
you record back with another one. I got another video for you guys. More Nick Fuentes. Today it's Destiny versus Nick. Maybe a year ago they were on the Fresh and Fit podcast and they had a great debate against each other on the Middle East and Israel. They were going about it, debating about who's right, who's wrong. We all know, of course, Nick, he's pro-America, we ain't pro-Israel. But Destiny kind of claps back at him and they go back and forth. And yeah, so I'll let you guys enjoy it, and I'll ask if you guys like, subscribe, comment down below, and yeah, enjoy it.
In America. And I said, really? And you said, oh, no, I mean in the Middle East. And then you say, well, why are we in the Middle East? Well, that's not important at all. Actually, it is, because America has no business in Iraq. We had no business in Iraq in 1990. We had no business in Iraq in 2003. We had no business in Iraq in 2011. It matters. Of course it matters. And here's why. My contention, of course, is that we were led to Iraq by Jewish Zionists. Jewish Zionists' #1 enemy is Syria. Therefore, their #2 enemy was Saddam Hussein. And the reason why is because of their northern border. In the 1980s, Israel invaded Lebanon, and a group called Hezbollah pushed them out. The history goes way, 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 way back. But basically, they are mortal enemies with the al-Assad family, with Hafez and Bashar al-Assad, and with Hezbollah, with Lebanon and Syria. It's about securing their northern border. In any case, they have said continuously over the last 40 years that their #1 adversary they got to take out. The road to Damascus runs through Baghdad. They have to take out Iraq to take out Syria. So my contention is that we went to war with Iraq basically for the benefit of Syria. It follows, therefore.
Wait, can you explain that?
Let me finish. It's very quick. It's very quick. It's super quick. And then you can reply. It follows then that if we're at war in Iraq because Jews pushed us into that war to benefit Israel, it's actually not a geostrategic benefit for us to be able to surveil Iran or to kill the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, because the only reason the IRGC can kill our troops in Iraq is because we're in Iraq for Israel. So that's actually just a roundabout way of saying, well, they benefit us so that we can benefit them. They benefit us so we can kill their enemies when we're fighting their enemies in Iraq for them. It does us no good. We would have no beef with Iran besides the hostage situation from 40 years ago. But other than that, we'd have no beef with Iran, Iraq, or Syria if it wasn't for our support for Israel.
Okay. The problem is that I want to do a back and forth where I ask him a question, but if he rambles on like 40 minutes of bullshit history every time I ask him a question, it kind of
it's a book context. So
sure.
People
so I'm
understand.
curious, like when you say that the Israel is the one that dragged us into Iraq, can you elaborate that?
I can, yeah, very clearly. In 1996, they published a memo called the Clean Break Memo. Maybe you've heard of it. It's Douglas Pearl, David Feith, David Wormser. These guys all went into the Bush administration and created the Office of Special Plans in the Defense Office in the Department of Defense, which concocted this excuse for war in Iraq, this fabricated evidence about WMDs, this connection with the poisoning, and so on. And what they said, exactly, the anthrax. In the Clean Break Memo in 1996, all these, by the way, these guys are all Jewish Zionists, they all said it's about securing the realm of Israel, securing the northern border. We have to take out Saddam. We have to take out Syria. We have to take out Iran.
Why didn't we go to war with Syria or Iran then?
Oh, that's a great question. They tried to get us to war in Syria, if you remember. They fomented a Syrian civil war with ISIS, which was supported by both Israel and the United States.
Hold on. That's like 15 years later.
Yeah, because that was the plan. First Iraq, then Syria, then Iran.
Wait, so did we go to the first Gulf War and the second Gulf War because of Jews, or just the second one?
Both. Okay. Absolutely.
So
we went
the gassing of the Kurds and any of that, none of that mattered?
No, that's all ridiculous.
In Kuwait, that's all bullshit.
Well, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
In 1998, all these same guys, Wolfowitz and Abrams and all of them, Cohen, they all wrote a letter to Bill Clinton in 1998 before State of the Union and said, you got to address taking out Saddam. So they were talking about taking out Saddam for like 20 years. Then 9/11 happens and they go, oh, Saddam did 9/11. Oh, Saddam has WMDs. Let's go in. Yeah, it's all excuses, Destiny.
Why didn't they just depose him after the first Gulf War then?
Are you so naive to think that like gassing the Kurds is the reason we went in? Do you really believe that?
I more so than 4 Jewish guys drafted up a plan to get us into an arbitrary war in the Middle East. So we
in
could
other
defend
words,
Israel.
it's more about bullshit humanitarian nonsense than it is about like spies, money, warfare, and like that's really the crux of it. Is you have this naive worldview, like, well, the government said they're gassing the Kurds, yeah, just like Assad was gassing his own people, and it was fucking fake, and it was all white helmets with the UN down there, and it was the rebels using chemical attacks. No, there isn't, and they should go and investigate that.
Absolutely no evidence.
There isn't evidence.
There's not a single international community in the fucking world that would back up the claim.
There isn't evidence.
Okay, let me ask this. Let me ask this. So, are you okay? So, Destiny, just so I can make sure I get your stance correct here, are you saying that we went to war with Iraq because of the gassing of the Kurds?
I think that, yeah, I think in the invasion of Kuwait, I think it was a really big deal for internationally why we felt like we had to step in and intervene.
With the Kurds being killed.
Yeah, and then the chemical weapons on the Kurds.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so Saddam killing the Kurds in the northern part of Iraq is okay. What's your response to that?
We don't care about any of that. I guess.
I think that's ridiculous. I think
it's way more likely that 4 Jews somehow.
Well, let me ask this, Nick. Would you?
But not enough to depose Saddam, just enough to invade and leave him in power.
Let me finish.
Let's connect it. Would you say, Nick? Would you say that the gassing of the Kurds was a contributing factor, or you're saying it's not at all?
No, I don't think so at all. And here's why.
All right.
I think
so you don't think whatsoever it's not relevant whatsoever to the situation?
I think that is how they dress it up. I think that is basically United States foreign policy, is that we come up with pretexts and excuses to do what we want to do anyway. Like, for example, and I'm not trying to just zoom out here, but I am trying to give examples.
You don't think that mattered either, right?
What I'm here's the big picture, Destiny, which is, I think what you're missing. Is that we give a lot of excuses. We said there were WMDs in Iraq. That's why we went to Iraq.
Second Gulf War.
There weren't any.
You're mixing the first and second one.
No, I'm giving additional examples.
Well, why not just focus on the first Gulf War?
And here's
instead of
because you're missing. Here's why. Because now you're interrupting, trying to derail.
Because you like to conflate a whole bunch of shit together.
No, because I'm making a point. No, because you're very naive and you think that the news media is telling you the truth about
a very big business. Why did we do the first Gulf War?
Which is war.
Okay, let him give his examples, and then can you please address the Gulf War for him?
Absolutely.
Give your examples, because he's just giving examples of why the United States lies against certain situations.
Because he doesn't have the answer to the first question, so he's going to obfuscate with stuff later.
He's going to answer the.
Look at this. This is crazy.
He's
getting nervous.
I know it is.
He's getting nervous because he doesn't know anything about foreign policy, so he doesn't want to talk about it.
Because the 4 Jews made the plan in '96. They got us to invade Iraq like 10 years later.
Nick, so please cover your examples of how the United States does this to do things, and then please cover his first Gulf War, because that's what he's interested in.
100%.
All right.
So I'm making a bigger point about United States foreign policy, which is that we conduct regime change operations. We go to war all the time. There's always a pretext, whether it's a gassing of the Kurds or it's what happened in Kuwait. The same is true of Iraq with WMDs. The same is true of Libya. We deposed Gaddafi in Libya, they said, because, it's not like democratic enough. Does anybody really believe?
That's not even true.
Whoa. Does anybody really believe that we go to war with a NATO coalition and we deposed Gaddafi because the elections weren't free and fair? And the same thing is true of Syria. Constantly trying to create. Whoa, why are you interrupting me all the time? Is it because you're not confident in your positions? You have to derail?
Because every time you answer a question, you make up 50 bullshit questions.
I mean, dude, Destiny is just interrupting it the entire. Okay. Sometimes I'll agree with Destiny, but then sometimes I think he's being a dumbass. And what do you call it? The only part I don't like right now is that Nick's trying to debate him. They're trying to have a civil conversation. And Destiny's over here interrupting the whole time. I don't like that. I don't know if you guys do, but I kind of got that.
The deposition of Gaddafi.
Hey, everyone is acting like it. Stop.
Destiny, just let him finish his examples, and then please address the first Gulf War for him.
Yes, exactly.
You're giving your examples of America getting involved in foreign policy.
Remember, every answer relies on 30 random talking points. Yeah.
It's not random talking points. It's about because it's about your worldview. Your worldview is predicated, and I've seen your stream. I watch your stream. You always hand wave away all these Jews in the Defense Department. You hand wave away all the Jewish disproportionate stuff by saying that things are as they seem. There are people in the world, they act a certain way, but it can't be explained by a conspiracy. That's what I'm talking. That's why it matters to go through these examples, because you're going out there and saying, well, Israel benefits us Because geostrategic. Well, what does that mean? Oh, I have no fucking idea. Well, we went to war in Kuwait because of the Kurds. Can you tell me why we went to war?
Hold on, Nick. Give your examples, then the first Gulf War, and then you can ask him a question after.
I already gave my examples.
Okay. What about the first Gulf War then?
Libya, Ukraine, all these different interventions. They're always a
none of these things are remotely similar to each other.
If I laugh, it looks like I'm not losing. If I laugh, it looks like I don't have a
well, let me
naive
name 15 random
worldview.
facts, and I'm going to
Spies
fact
and
check anything they were talking about.
real.
The Libyan invasion was clearly
guys,
yeah, it's about Kurds.
Let's keep this civil. Okay, because he asked a question about the first Gulf War. Why did we go? Is that your question? Why did we go into war with the first Gulf War?
I'm just curious how Jews are concocting every single fucking thing. And then also keep in mind too, the only evidence of any of the fact that like the Jews are behind this is because some people that are Jewish are involved in writing some of the plans.
Well, explain Kanye. Explain JP Morgan and Kanye. Let's go to the good stuff.
That is always going to be.
Let's go to Kanye.
In the totality of this conversation, the strongest evidence that Nick will ever offer for his position is some of the people involved are Jewish.
Okay, so let's hit the first Gulf War because he's asking why did we get involved in the first Gulf War?
We got involved in the first Gulf War for the same reason we got involved in the Iraq War. It's because the Jews had a problem with Saddam Hussein. The Zionists had a problem with Saddam Hussein. It's the same situation. And here's why I bring up the letter to Bill Clinton 98. It's because once again, we can take the explanation that we were given by the news media that Israel, our closest ally, because they help us. Went to war in Iraq because WMDs, I don't know, we were fooled. We went to war in the Gulf War because of the Kurds. What I'm trying to say is that was already the policy. They were agitating for war for a long time. The neocons were agitating for war for a long time.
Can you tell me, how did we make Saddam Hussein invade Kuwait and then use gas weapons against the Kurdish people?
We didn't make them do that. That's the pretext.
How are we agitating
for
it?
That's the excuse.
Can you tell me how we're agitating for it?
No. I'm not saying agitate for that.
Okay. What are we agitating for?
I'm sorry, what are you saying?
I'm trying to figure out how the Jews made us go. I'm trying to figure out how did the Jews make Saddam Hussein.
You're trying to figure it out.
I am. I'm asking you.
Desperately trying to figure it out.
How did the Jews make Saddam Hussein invade Kuwait and use chemical weapons?
Though.
I'm asking you.
You're not following. Yeah, no.
Without talking about Benghazi, without talking about China, without talking about Ukraine,
without talking about other examples of American foreign policy to establish a concrete worldview
and dialogue trees.
And it's always derailing. It's always derailing and sophistry from you. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Ask your question, and then he'll answer it.
How did the Jews make us invade in the first Gulf War?
But see, that's a totally incorrect. It's so funny.
You're so triggered.
So funny.
I see the trigger in you.
I'm not triggered, but that's just what you do. When you lose a debate, when you lose a debate,
this is like your specialty area of interest. I don't know fucking half the shit you're talking about, and you don't have an answer for me.
It's just like the weasel words at the beginning.
Having no understanding of anything you're talking about, and you're going to say random fucking shit to win the argument.
It's so weird. It's so crazy.
Okay. The question is, how did say it one more time? What was it?
He brings up like 5 different conflicts.
Destiny, please ask the question. It's a false premise. Here was the question. He said,
so that we don't derail,
he said, how did the Jews make Saddam Hussein do these things?
Yes,
I never said the Jews made Saddam Hussein do those things. Were you listening?
Oh, so Saddam Hussein chose to invade Kuwait and gas the Kurdish people.
I don't know that he gassed the Kurdish people, by the way. I don't know
if I believe that 6 million?
Let's say they did, though. As I said before, that's the pretext, Destiny. Countries do bad things all the time.
Were there other countries that were using chemical weapons on their own citizens in the Middle East that we had no interest in? Wasn't that one of the reasons why we went after Gaddafi, was claims of torturing people, locking them up in prisons?
No, we said.
Why is it that we went to invade? Why is it that we went to invade? Why is it that we went to, when we went to depose Gaddafi? Why is it that even China abstained from voting against U.S. involvement in that? Because they knew that Gaddafi was a fucked up person, and they knew that that country was being ran in fucked up ways.
China's not ran by fucked up people, and there's no other fucked up.
I'm just saying, China had the ability to enter, and everybody say, "Don't do it." There's a reason why they abstained.
Let me ask you this. So we went into Libya, we went into Iraq because it's fucked up guys doing fucked up stuff.
Are there any, from the first Gulf War.
Are there any leaders? Are there any leaders doing fucked up stuff in Africa and Latin America?
I think that generally the United States.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yeah, they're probably. Yeah, of course. I'm
okay,
sure
so
like 6 ongoing genocides.
Where are the ground wars in Africa and Latin America?
No geostrategic interest, and I don't know if there are. I don't know if there are democracies there. I don't know if there are democracies that we feel like are worth supporting.
What was the geostrategic interest in toppling Saddam Hussein in 2003?
That entire area, because of its location near Russia, I believe, is of interest to the United States.
Because of it, so we invaded Iraq because of its location near Russia.
We invaded. I didn't say we invaded Iraq.
See, this is why.
I'm not gonna. You want me to answer the question?
This is why he doesn't want me to answer.
Let him answer, Nick, please.
Okay, now there's no interruptions.
Okay, let him answer.
Let's hear about Russia.
The reason why we invaded.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's go.
The reason why we invaded Iraq,
and then you can answer.
The reason why we invaded Iraq is because Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait with shitty pretext and used chemical warfare against the people of Kurdistan, the Kurds living in the north of Iraq. The reason why we have an interest in Iraq is because of the location on the globe. So if you want to tell me why we're interested in Iraq, I can tell you that. If you want to tell me why we invaded, I can tell you that. Those are the two separate answers to that. Where were the Jews involved?
Well, wait.
Now
so
let him respond.
I want to follow on this a little bit. So you said, well, we invaded Iraq and Libya because even China realized that Gaddafi was a shitty guy. This is like Reddit talk. Gaddafi was a total
Where did the first Gulf War
asshole.
No, that he moved
Gaddafi
again.
was a total freaking asshole. That's why we invaded. And I said, okay,
tortured them.
interruptions. Can we get a check on that?
Hit the Gaddafi thing, and then please answer his question about the Iraq.
So I said, well, what about all the shitty people in Africa? What about all the shitty people in Latin America, terrorist groups? And he said, well, so really, it's not about their shitty people. It's because they're shitty people, and it was geostrategically important. I said, what's a geostrategic benefit? It's near Russia. Really? So let me get this straight. If we invaded Iraq and the geostrategic benefit is that it was near Russia, which look at a fucking map, why wouldn't we just go into Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia? Why wouldn't we go into Ukraine? Why wouldn't we accelerate Ukraine's membership in NATO? This is in 2003. Why would we make Ukraine a NATO member in 2003 when Putin had been in office for 3 years? Why invade Iraq if that was the geostrategic benefit?
Sure.
Let's hear it.
First of all, we've already drafted nations that are literally bordering Russia into NATO. That's what we did with the Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
Yeah.
So we've already done that. In terms of reaching into countries that are more northern and eastern, or from Iraq, my guess is going to be because we don't have any connection or reasonable way to support those countries. We just don't have.
What does that mean? We have no reasonable way to support
the geographic locations of places like Turkey and Israel make them easier for long distance support rather than places like Armenia, Azerbaijan.
So where's
Georgia.
Azerbaijan on a map? Do you know?
Northeast of Iraq.
It's east of Turkey.
Yes.
So it's right there. It's right there with Armenia. It's right there with Turkey. It's right there with Georgia. Georgia and Turkey are allies. Why wouldn't we just go for Azerbaijan?
Georgia already had Russian troops in the country.
And we couldn't have gone in there and repelled that in 2008?
Russian troops on the Russian border? No, I don't think we would do that.
That's what we're doing right now, dipshit. That's what we're doing right now. And it's 20 years later.
I'm sorry.
Russia's down an arms buildup.
The United States does not have military troops in Ukraine.
Yes, they do. Wow.
No, they don't.
So naive.
No, they don't.
Yes, we do.
Then why isn't Russia screaming at them?
This stuff's crazy, dude. I mean, it's so funny. I mean, every time I think Nick's speaking facts. I mean, some of these words I don't have no knowledge about, so I mean, I can't obviously talk on it because I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say that I know about it. But I mean, it's just kind of funny every time Nick says something, Destiny cuts him off, and you can see the same thing about Nick saying, "Oh, when Destiny talks, Nick cuts him off." But I mean, yeah, I don't know this Destiny guy, dude. This guy is cringe. But I'm gonna let you guys finish it up.
The roof trucks. If we had,
They are.
Notice how we pivoted away from the first Gulf War.
That is incredible.
Because we're going
amazing naivete on display right here.
Okay, we because I see what's going on here. Basically, we're answering one question by bringing up examples, and those examples basically create a whole other conversation. So
well, no, they shouldn't, but it's because he can't answer that.
Well,
the point is to bring up. If I can bring up 10 different conflicts and say the Jews,
keep looking at your chat.
If I can bring up 10 different things and I say the Jews, and then I push on any one of those, and it's like
to be fair, hold on. To be fair, both of you guys have done it. So, did you get to answer the first Gulf War thing?
He doesn't have an answer.
We already went over.
He has no answer. We didn't go over.
No, we did. I said it was pretextual. That's the answer.
Every war is pretextual.
Oh, finally, an admission. I agree. You're right.
There's a reason for every war. They're not random.
Thank you very much.
The pretext was them invading Kuwait and using chemical warfare against the Kurdish people.
It's a false pretext.
Oh, so that didn't happen. They didn't invade Kuwait. They didn't gas the Kurds.
Are you both comfortable with leaving the Gulf War and going to Kanye?
No.
Hold on.
I want to continue with the Iraq War.
Yeah, now, because he did ask, because the two reasons you gave for Iraq was
I can tell you there's a general reason the United States will support countries that are of geostrategic interest. That usually means next to important travelways for trade.
Of course.
It could mean geographic location in relation to China or Russia.
Yes.
And then there's a third reason, places that have somewhat tenable democracies.
Yeah.
Like that's an important thing. That's why we don't intervene so much in African countries, because we're worried that if we start shipping in a ton of weapons, shit will get fucked. In Iraq, we abandoned that strategy.
Hold on, guys,
and that was one of the reasons why the post-Iraq war, the second Gulf War, was such an unbelievable fucking shit show, because we invaded the country, we dismantled the government, and we realized that was fucked, so we tried to build another government, and that was even more fucked, and arguably a lot of what we ended up shipping to Iraq went straight to fucking ISIS.
So
that was one of the bad things about that. Was like the bad thing about Iraq.
Okay, let me ask
and
you this,
Afghanistan as well. Yes.
Let me ask you this, just so Nick can properly respond to the Iraq war.
Sure.
Are you saying that Israeli involvement had nothing to do with us going into Iraq?
That
Israeli involvement.
I'm sure that people from Israel were probably happy we did it. I'm sure there are Jewish people in the United States that are probably happy we did it. But I don't think the Jews made it happen. Like, I think if you delete Israel and you delete Jewish people, God willing for Nick, from the world, we're still probably going to
so
Iraq
you think we would have invaded regardless of Israeli
regardless of any Jewish influence?
What's your response to that? He's saying Israel pretty much played no part in it.
Okay, well, I mean, I was about to respond to a lot of this. I would say in the first place, he said, well, we don't go into Africa because they can't build a democracy. As if Iraqis are any more democratic than fucking Africans. That's number one. Number two, he said, well, we wouldn't go to war in Africa because the weapons would just go everywhere, as though that's not exactly what's been happening in the Middle East for 40 years. That was happening before we even arrived there. It was happening with the Soviets against the Mujahideen in 1979. It's been going on. So both of those are two arguments that are just crap.
Okay.
Like,
you disagree. Okay.
And so,
and then what about the Iraq? Yeah.
And then about Jews in Iraq, he says, well, maybe there were Israelis that supported it. No. There were very powerful Zionist Jews that supported it. It was a number 2 in the DOD. It was a number 3 in the DOD. It had a Near East policy in the National Security Council. These are the guys that put together. And by the way, it's not like I'm just listing people that were in the government. They specifically created. No, I'm about to answer that. They specifically created the Office of Special Plans. The Office of Special Plans is where all this phony intelligence about WMDs from Iraq was coming from. It was.
It was not.
The
OSP was also requested by Cheney and Bush.
You can they didn't look it up.
I have looked it up.
Let him finish his point, then you can go ahead and say it was phony. Let him just finish his point about the Office of Special.
So they contradicted the CIA. They contradicted American intelligence. They had Mossad people going in between all day long. Not only that, but these are all guys. I don't know how people can just pass this off as a coincidence. All these guys that I'm talking about in the government were 10 years prior writing a clean break memo that was literally commissioned by the Prime Minister of Israel. The Prime Minister of Israel said, hey, guys, go write a memo about our foreign policy. And the foreign policy playbook they wrote was this: first Iraq, then Syria, then Iran. Then these guys all get in the Bush White House, and that's, go figure, exactly what they pushed for. On September 20th, 9 days after 9/11, 40 prominent neocons at the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times wrote a letter to George Bush and said, if you don't support a war against Hezbollah, against Iraq, against Syria, then we're going to say you're an ally of the terrorists. You're in the war on terror.
Yeah, I mean, just facts overall. I think Nick's spinning it. I need to do more research in the Middle East, but I mean, he's claiming Israel is behind it. Like all this stuff, I have heard about that they said Syria, Libya, and then Iran's the last one, and that's what they're saying. They want war of Iran to take over the Middle East, so I know that for sure, but yeah, dude, it's crazy. I mean, this was a good debate. Only downside I say to it is that Destiny cuts him off literally like every 2 seconds. Nick says a word or that comes out of his mouth, he can't even speak, poor guy. But yeah, that's gonna be it here, guys. If you guys like the video, like I said, comment down below, like, subscribe. I appreciate it. Help the channel out. I'm trying to get more Nick Fuentes clips out for you guys. Nick's live Monday through Friday. This week he hasn't been live a couple days because he's doing some collaborations, I think, with other people. I heard Tucker Carlson, one of them, so you should be looking out for that. But yeah, we're gonna have a good one, and this is Pure Record out.